So, I've got something super interesting for you today on QuickSpeak English. And I'm actually really excited about this one because, you know, it's something that affects pretty much everyone in a long-term relationship.
That's right. And it's actually something I'm really passionate about discussing.
Um, we're going to be talking about something that, well, a lot of people find kind of awkward to discuss, but it's so important. It's about keeping your married sex life healthy and actually having more intimacy with your partner.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? This is exactly the kind of topic we need to be more open about, right? Because so many couples are struggling with this, but they're just not talking about it.
Peter, you've been studying relationship dynamics for quite a while now, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been working with couples for over 15 years now. And and what I keep seeing is that sexual health in marriage is really one of those foundational elements that just keeps coming up again and again. You know what I mean?
Oh wow. That's um that's actually longer than I thought. And I know you've got some really practical advice for our listeners today.
Absolutely. And the thing is, we're going to break this down into really manageable steps, right? Because everyone deserves to have a fulfilling, intimate life with their partner, you know? Ooh.
So Peter, what would you say are the biggest challenges that couples usually face when it comes to, you know, maintaining a healthy sex life?
Well, and this is really interesting actually because there are several major challenges that keep coming up again and again in my work, right? The first one is just absolutely stress. You know what I mean? Like people are carrying so much tension from their daily lives and and it just completely kills the mood.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense actually. I can totally see how that would affect things.
Yeah, and then there's this whole thing with schedules, right? Because couples today are just incredibly busy, you know? They're juggling careers and kids and all these commitments, and sometimes they're literally just passing each other in the hallway.
Um, that sounds really challenging. What else are you seeing in your work?
So another huge one is definitely communication barriers, right? And this is such a big one because people often feel really awkward or even embarrassed about expressing their needs and desires. You know what I mean? Like they might have been together for years, but they still struggle to have these important conversations.
And I'm guessing um that not talking about it just makes everything worse.
Exactly. Because when couples aren't communicating, they start making assumptions and and that creates this cycle where both partners are kind of walking on eggshells, right? And and before you know it, intimacy becomes this huge elephant in the room that that nobody wants to address.
Oh, that sounds really difficult to deal with.
And you know what else I'm seeing more and more? It's this whole thing with technology and and screens in the bedroom, right? Like people are checking their phones right up until bedtime and and it's creating this digital barrier between partners. You know what I mean?
So, speaking of communication barriers, what would you say are the best ways for couples to actually start having these conversations?
Oh, and this is absolutely crucial, right? The first thing I always tell couples is that timing is everything. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to bring up these conversations right after a disagreement or when one person is rushing out the door.
That's actually really helpful. What's the best time to have these talks?
So, ideally you want to choose a time when you're both feeling relaxed and connected, right? Maybe after a nice dinner or during a quiet weekend moment. And here's something really important. You want to start with appreciation, you know? Like tell your partner what you love about your intimate life together before suggesting any changes or improvements.
Um, could you give us some specific examples of how to actually start these conversations?
Yes, absolutely. So one really effective approach is to use I statements, right? Like instead of saying you never initiate, you might say something like, "I really love when you show interest in being intimate with me and and then express what you'd like to see more of." You know what I mean?
Oh, that's really interesting. What else can couples do?
And another super important technique is active listening, right? Like when your partner is sharing their feelings, you want to really focus on understanding rather than just planning your response, you know? And and it's so helpful to reflect back what you're hearing like so what I'm understanding is this makes your partner feel really heard and validated.
And what if someone feels really nervous about bringing these things up?
That's totally normal. And actually it can help to start with smaller conversations, right? Like maybe begin by sharing what you appreciate about your partner or or talking about a positive experience you've had together. And and remember vulnerability creates intimacy. You know what I mean? Sometimes just admitting that you're nervous about having the conversation can make it easier to have.
So, you've mentioned emotional connection a few times. How important is that, like, outside the bedroom?
Oh my goodness, it's absolutely fundamental, right? And and here's the thing that most people don't realize. Great sex actually starts way before you even get to the bedroom. You know what I mean? Like it's about building that connection throughout the whole day.
That's, um, really interesting. Could you tell us more about that?
So, think about it this way. And this is something I always tell couples. Intimacy is like a plant that needs constant nurturing, right? It's not just about the big moments, but all these tiny little connections throughout the day, like sending a flirty text message or or just touching your partner's shoulder as you walk past them in the kitchen, you know?
Could you give us some more specific examples of building that connection?
Absolutely. So one really powerful thing is to make sure you're fully present when you're together, right? Like put away your phones during dinner and and really listen to each other. And and another big one is physical touch that isn't necessarily sexual, you know what I mean? Like holding hands while watching TV or or giving a quick hug before leaving for work.
What about for couples who might be really busy during the day?
That's such a great question. Even super busy couples can find little moments to connect, right? Like maybe it's just a sweet good morning kiss that lasts a few seconds longer or sending a thoughtful message during lunch break. And and here's something really powerful. Sharing gratitude, you know? Like telling your partner specific things you appreciate about them, even small things like I love how you always remember to make my coffee just the way I like it.
And how do these small gestures actually impact the, um, physical intimacy?
Oh, they make a huge difference because they create this ongoing sense of connection and desire, right? When you feel emotionally connected throughout the day, it's like you're building this beautiful anticipation. You know what I mean? And that makes the physical intimacy so much more meaningful and satisfying when it happens.
So, let's get into some really practical stuff. What are some, like, actual strategies couples can use to improve their sex life?
Oh yes, absolutely. And this is where it gets really interesting because there are so many practical things couples can do, right? Like one of the biggest game changers is actually scheduling intimate time together. You know what I mean?
Um, wouldn't scheduling make it feel less spontaneous, though?
That's what people often think, but here's the thing. Scheduling actually creates anticipation, right? And and it shows your partner that intimacy is a priority. Like you're literally making space in your life for connection, you know? Plus, it gives you both time to mentally prepare and and get excited about it.
Could you share some tips about, um, creating the right environment?
Absolutely. So the environment is super important, right? Like first thing is to make your bedroom a real sanctuary, you know? And that means no work stuff, no phones, maybe some soft lighting and keeping it tidy and inviting. Some couples even like to use essential oils or music to create that mood. You know what I mean?
What about maintaining that element of, surprise?
Other example.
In this episode of QuickSpeak English, we're diving deep into the spice of life, or rather the spice of married life, how to keep that spark alive in the bedroom. I got something super cool for you, Lily, and I think you're gonna really love this.
Oh, I'm so excited. And I've been, really wanting to talk about this because it's such a crucial part of like a healthy and happy marriage, right? And so many couples struggle with it.
Totally. So, where do we even begin? I mean, it's a pretty big topic. Like, how do you even keep the romance alive after years of, well.
Well, first point, communication is absolutely key. And that's like the number one thing. You really need to talk openly and honestly with your partner, about your desires, your needs, your fantasies, even if it feels a little awkward at first. And the thing is, well, it's not just about the physical act either. It's about connecting emotionally, And that involves like really listening to each other, really listening and being vulnerable with each other.
Yeah, I can see how that's important. But what if like one person is way more interested than the other?
That's a common problem, and it's often a sign of some underlying issue, maybe stress or resentment or, even something more serious. But the first step is still talking about it. It's crucial to identify the root cause, and then maybe you guys can find a way to address that together. And sometimes couples counseling can be really helpful, like seriously helpful in situations like that. It gives you the tools to, communicate more effectively. And it's not a sign of weakness, It's actually like a sign of strength to seek help when you need it.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So communication is number one. What else should we consider? What are some other things we should discuss?
Second point, scheduling intimacy. I know it sounds like totally unromantic, right? To like actually schedule sex. But hear me out. And in today's busy world, it's often the only way to ensure that it actually happens. It's about prioritizing it, making it a non-negotiable part of your relationship, even if it's just like 15 minutes here and there. And you know what? Scheduling sex can actually make it even more exciting because, like, you've got something to look forward to. Think of it like planning a date night, Except the date night is, intimate. It's all about setting the mood and making it special.
Scheduling sex? That's a new one for me. I might try that, I think. What about keeping things fresh and exciting? Because after a while, things can, get a bit routine.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where creativity and spontaneity come in. Try something new, experiment, explore your fantasies together, even small changes can make a big difference, like trying a new location, using toys, or even just, changing up your usual routine. It's all about keeping things interesting. And remember, it's not all about the big stuff either. Small acts of affection like cuddling, kissing, holding hands, those are crucial in maintaining intimacy and in, sparking that desire. And what else is important? Physical affection outside the bedroom, and don't underestimate that. Like a little massage, a spontaneous hug, those things go a long way in setting the stage for more intimacy.
Wow, that's a lot of good advice. So just to recap, we've talked about communication, scheduling, keeping things fresh, and general physical affection. Anything else? Is there anything else we should discuss?
Well, self-care is really, really important. And that might seem like a weird thing to say, but when you're feeling good about yourself, your energy levels are up, you're more likely to be interested in intimacy. So take care of your physical and mental health, make sure you get enough sleep, eat healthy, exercise, all the usual stuff. And that's really important because you're much more likely to feel confident and desirable.
Makes sense. And what about when things just aren't working? Like, what if all these tips don't seem to be helping?
Then it's time to seek professional help. Seriously, there's no shame in it. A therapist can help you both identify the underlying issues and work through them together. It's it's a great way to get some support and guidance and learn new skills to help improve your communication and intimacy. And sometimes, just having someone neutral to talk to can make a world of difference.
Okay, that's good to know. So we've covered communication, scheduling intimacy, keeping things exciting, physical affection, self-care, and seeking professional help. Ooh, that's a lot to think about.
And don't forget, every relationship is different, right? What works for one couple might not work for another. So be flexible, be patient, and keep trying new things until you find what works best for you too. And the journey is just as important as the destination. Sometimes the process of exploring your intimacy together is more rewarding and fun than reaching some arbitrary goal.
That's a really beautiful way to put it, Lily. I think we've packed a lot into this episode. I feel like I've learned so much, and I'm hoping our listeners will too.
Absolutely. And don't forget, and the most important thing is to have fun with it. Sex should be enjoyable and fulfilling for both partners. It shouldn't feel like a chore or an obligation. If it does, then it's probably time to revisit some of these points. Seriously, it's one of the most important aspects of a loving and successful marriage. Remember, even a little laughter can go a long way. Don't take things too seriously. And maybe even try incorporating some humor into the bedroom. A little playful teasing or a silly joke can break the ice and make things more relaxed.
That's great advice. Thanks, Lily. And to our listeners, remember to tune in next time for another episode of QuickSpeak English. We hope this episode has given you some insight into keeping your married sex life healthy and exciting. Until next time.